What is up? Coach Emma here, and welcome back to the Fit Habit Life podcast, where we cut through the noise, talk real health and fitness, sustainable fat loss, and habits that actually work. And today, I have a super special guest on the podcast. This is Matt DeHart. Matt DeHart is a finance coach, and he's not just any finance coach, he's my finance coach. And so I wanted to bring him on because finances are really intertwined with overall health and well-being. Oftentimes, most people's stressors come from finances and how to manage those, or being in debt or other sort of things. Most of my stress comes from finances. So I thought it'd be cool to have him on, tell his story, how he got into doing what he's doing, how he helps clients, and how he's helped me. So welcome, Matt.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Emma. I'm excited. You said it exactly right. Fitness, health, finances, it all runs together. And it's crazy how much it's intertwined.
It really is. It really is.
So I'm excited to tell you a little bit about my story, just because my story has a lot of fitness in it. That's why a portion of why I do what I do. That's why you see my bike in the background. All my YouTube videos have my bike back there, because it's fitness is huge for me. One, to keep my sanity, and two, to give me ideas. So a little bit about me. I started my career in pharmaceuticals. I was in the medical world. I loved the medical world, but I didn't want to be a doctor. So I was good at sales. I loved educating people, educating doctors. So for years, I educated them on the prescriptions they had. So everything I did was a pill. It was easy. Most people wanted that easy, quick fix. Almost everything that I sold to doctors could have been avoided by taking care of yourself. But one of the things I didn't realize is getting into that industry is it's very volatile. So the ups and downs of the medical world was, you'd get sick. You'd get motion sickness because of how many times it'd go up and down. One day, my family and I would have money. The next day, we'd get laid off and have to find another job. And so never did I think I was going to be intertwined with finances with other people. And it was crazy how life pushed me toward that. I got laid off 5 times in 11 years. I have 4 kids. I've been married for 24 years. And I was the sole provider. My wife did an awesome job at home raising the kids. And luckily, she's still with me after being laid off that many times. And the stress level on her end every time I told her I didn't have a job anymore must have been horrific.
I'm sure.
It's, I know how it felt for me, but I knew I could go out and find another job. So for years, we were doing that up and down game, and I'd put stuff on credit cards. I would do whatever I could just to make ends meet. I did unemployment one time, which to me was the worst thing I ever could have done.
How come?
It made me lazy. It made me lazy because they have this little stipulation in there that if you work, you have to report your work. And if you report work and you make money, they take money away from your unemployment.
That's crazy.
It is. It completely demotivates you to do any type of work. And
that's insane. You think they would incentivize you to get a new job?
Yeah, because unemployment doesn't pay much. It was paying like 60% of my income. So we couldn't live just on unemployment. But again, if you go and do other work, you have to report it every single week, what you do. And they deduct that from your pay. So there was just no way to really get back on top of things. And so the next time I got laid off, I didn't get on unemployment. I went and cleaned carpets.
Really?
My brother-in-law had a carpet cleaning company, and I went and cleaned carpets for $15 an hour.
Wow.
So I made roughly the same amount I would have made on unemployment, but I was 10 times happier.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
I cannot do nothing.
No.
Like, that would drive me crazy.
Unemployment. I was this depressed person sitting at my computer all day, hoping somebody would email me back when I sent in a resume, and I'd sent in thousands of resumes and just didn't get anything out of it. But when I was working, I was more focused at night. So I'd come home and I'd spend an hour or two focused, really hyper focused on the jobs I wanted. So that's when I would get connected with people. I'd find them on LinkedIn. I'd see who their alma mater was for college or high school and see where we were connected. And I really focused a lot more. And it took 3 months, but I found another job in the pharmaceutical world. I actually got on with Johnson & Johnson. But like I said, I was doing one of the grossest jobs I've ever done in my life by cleaning carpets. It was disgusting. I cleaned student carpets at BYU. Oh. And I'm telling you, at that point, I thought boys were disgusting until I went into the girls' apartments. Holy cow. That was really eye-opening to me. So
I had a roommate who she would just leave the dishes and the pizza boxes like in her room under her bed.
Oh man.
That is the grossest. Yeah, the grossest thing in the entire world. I'm like, I don't understand it. Where's the hygiene? Like, how did you grow up like this?
Yeah. Well, and it was crazy just because you get a room full of girls in college. The hair was unreal. We had to clean out the vacuum all the time with the hairballs. Terrible. It was.
That sounds like a nightmare job.
Even though it was that disgusting, I'd come home at night and felt like I did something. And so I know that helped significantly moving forward because I was willing to work. I wanted to work. I just needed to support a family. And so we did that. And like I said, over 11 months or 11 years, I got laid off 5 times. And that's when I was like, I set a goal that I wanted to create a company that helped individuals, families, and businesses to be able to spend more time as a family. That was the ultimate goal, was to spend more time with your family. Because even though I got laid off that many times, one of the benefits and blessings of being laid off was I was home. I was with my family. I was with my kids. I helped potty train my second oldest son, who you can't really see in the picture. His face is the one cut off, but he was my second. So I got to help with some of the stuff I typically wouldn't have helped with.
That's awesome.
And so, but it would have been a lot less stressful to have money during that time and help instead of stressing out about the finances. So we did that. But I created that goal 10 years ago. And it took about 8 years for that to come to fruition. So after my 5th layoff in the medical world, at that time I was the director of international business for a medical device company. So I traveled all the time. I was gone. I missed my 3rd son. I left on a trip to Germany on his birthday. And he held it against me for a very long time.
I'm sure.
And so when I actually got laid off of that job, when oil prices went down. So it was great to fill up your tank here in the US, but all the countries that bought from me couldn't afford our product anymore.
That's crazy.
So it was interesting seeing that worldview. I worked all the time with tariffs and different currencies, and I had to maneuver my quotes with Canada. Their dollar dropped 30% one year to the US dollar. So all my quotes were way too high for them to even afford. So I had to maneuver that world for years. And again, it helped me understand that world a lot better, understand the currencies and that was my degree. I was an international business degree. So
that's right. Yeah.
So I did that and I loved it. But again, that job laid me off too, because all of a sudden Saudi Arabia quit buying from me and they were 40% of my business.
Wow.
So just overnight, they were at war with Yemen and Syria. And they also, oil prices had dropped, so they just decided to quit buying. And I'm like, I can't fix two countries at war, and my company let me go. I was like, gosh, I couldn't fix that. So
That's crazy.
And it was hard being in that situation where I couldn't fix something. And
I understand.
My job disappeared because of it. And I remember by that time, that was the 5th time I'd been laid off. And I knew at that point it was all money based. So I found a company at that time that was coaching individuals with their finances. They were doing like Dave Ramsey on steroids. And I loved what they were doing. So I jumped on with a coach because I was like, I got to figure this out. Because I was struggling financially when I was with that company, the international company. My commissions dropped in half. So we went from doing really well to crappy.
Wow.
Almost overnight. And so I did the Dave Ramsey thing. I went and worked for my builder. I was doing construction at night, and I was an international director of business during the day. So that during the day, and then peon at night, sweeping out houses, building shelves. And I decided I needed to do something. I'm like, I got to figure out this stuff. It's really frustrating. So I found this company, and I decided to jump on and help coach people because it was one of those feel-good jobs. And so I did that for the next six years. And I didn't take on another job. I actually went in-house with this company and coached their top 300 investors for 3 years. So after the first 3 years, they brought me in-house to see if I could help the business owners, the investors, the higher ups in the company. And it was fun. So I had 300 clients that I was coaching and helping, and getting school teachers into their 5th and 6th and 7th investment properties, and making it so that they could retire or teach school as long as they wanted, or helping people go back to school and become a nurse or a doctor or whatever they wanted after raising their kids. So it was fun. I loved what I did. And then out of the blue, they cut my pay by 60% and made it absolutely impossible for me to work for them anymore.
That's crazy.
So that's when I created Highline Financial Coaching, because I loved what I did. I loved helping people with their finances. I loved seeing somebody achieve a financial goal that they never thought they could ever achieve. And that's when, this was 2.5, almost 3 years ago, they cut my pay. And I decided to create my company, and 6 weeks later, we opened our doors, and I didn't know everything. I definitely didn't know everything, but I had clients. I knew how to coach them, and one of the coolest parts, I told you fitness was a big deal to me, is when I started improving my finances, it was during COVID, and I wanted to improve my health, so I bought a bike. I mean, COVID, you know what it was like. We couldn't do much. But I was like,
you guys could do a lot more than I could.
Oh, yes.
I can tell
definitely. You that. We didn't have to wear masks while I rode a bike outside. So
yes,
that
was
a good
win.
thing. But yeah, we could be outside. And so my wife and I got bikes. And I remember the first time I pulled my bike out, I rode it around the block where I live. And I thought I was going to die. There's a little hill, and I'm climbing it, and I'm like, why am I so out of shape? I felt like the biggest wimp. And I was like, okay, I'm going to keep doing this. So I kept riding. I took off, and I did a 14-mile ride one day, and I thought it was the coolest thing I could ever do. And I'm like, yeah, 14 miles. I'm a stud. And then a buddy of mine said, Matt, come ride with us. And so this guy was, I think he's almost 20 years older than me. But he was a friend at church. He knew I was starting to ride a bike, and he goes, come ride with me. So I show up to this group, and I'm wearing basketball shorts. Luckily, I got a helmet, no gloves, I have flat pedals. And anyone that's been in road biking knows that this is about the dumbest thing you could wear. because I mean, it's pretty much a parachute when you're riding. I had a t-shirt and yeah, I had a parachute on. So it would slow me down. I had a heavy bike and I show up and there's these big guys. There's a guy that weighs over 100 pounds more than me. He's probably 20 years older than me. And I was a typical guy. I'm sizing everybody up as we meet for the first time. And I'm like, I got this. I can hang with this crowd. I have never been so embarrassed in my life. They smoked me. They smoked me in every aspect. But that's what got me into cycling. And I swore after that I would never look that bad. And so I started riding. And then a buddy of mine, after we did a lot longer rides than that. We did 50 miles, 75 miles. I did my first century ride. I saw 100 miles show up on my bike computer and realized that I had crossed over into the crazy cycling. And then a buddy of mine challenged me to a race that was 207 miles long. And I took him up on it. And so we trained all summer and I did that ride, and it was a crazy ride up in Logan, Utah. So we had to go through the mountains and we went all the way up to Jackson Hole. And when I finished that race, it was one of the biggest highs I've ever had in sports. By far the best feeling. It was physical, emotional, mental, everything, every single emotion you could have during that. And I was flying high and I loved it. And then I went back to work on Monday for that company that I coached finances for. And I met with the COO of the company and he tore me down like I've never been torn down before. So I went from this super high, got absolutely shredded. And I'm like, how can I bounce that quick? And I just went, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be in a company where I can get shredded that quickly and that destroyed that quickly by somebody who didn't know what they were talking about. So 5 months later, I had my company. But it was because of fitness that gave me, so my progress went getting on top of my finances, started getting on top of my fitness, and then I got a mindset coach that helped me get on top of my mental state. And then I started my own company. And it was,
that's awesome.
Those things just kept building on themselves. Now, a lot of the people you work with are probably starting with fitness. Fitness may be their first step. In my process, that's just the way it went. But all of those things could have been interchanged. But yeah, as I got healthier in each of these aspects, I was like, you know what? I want to be healthier in a different way.
Yeah, they definitely compound. Like, obviously people who know listening to me or my clients or whatever, it's like my venture into overall health was just working out, then dove into nutrition. Then I was like, oh, my mindset is like kind of screwed up. So working through that, going to therapy, trying to figure that out. Then finances, figuring that out because I realized it was a big stress on my life. I didn't understand, like I just wouldn't spend money. And so it's like I'd work hard and I had this money, but I would feel bad spending it, or I wasn't sure how much to spend, or didn't really understand how to budget. I'd felt guilty when I would buy something for myself. And yeah, so there's probably other little steps, but they usually compound because when you get confident in one thing, then you're like, oh, what's the next thing I can tackle? How can I continue to improve and become my best self? So
yeah, well, and that confidence is awesome because one, it shows you that you can accomplish anything. For me, riding my bike, I know I can climb the mountain. I know I can do it. I know how to do it. And I remember when I was working with, so I went to a mindset coach because I didn't know what to do. I knew something, after being laid off that many times, I had some trauma associated with finances. And I knew it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I went to a therapist. I went to a business coach. I went to this mindset coach. So the mindset coach was the one that we connected the best. So it was funny because I told her, I was like, I understand how to work out. I know how to strengthen my body. I know how to climb a mountain if I want to. I know it's not going to happen overnight, but I know how to train. But I said, I don't feel like that with business or finances. I said, I know how to help with finances, but with the business, because the company I was at, I kept trying to set these goals and they just never clicked. And if you've set goals and somebody else is making those goals for you, you never really buy in. And I could not buy into these goals, and I couldn't figure out what was wrong, why I couldn't see how it worked. Like I said, on my bike, I knew I had to eat better. I knew I had to wake up early to go on rides. I knew I had to be strong. I knew I had to build up to certain levels. But when it came to my business, I was like, I don't see it. But the second I left the company I was at and I did it on my own, my brain lit up like a Christmas tree. And I was like, that's what I needed. And then my mindset coach told me, she goes, Matt, your subconscious has been screaming at you to do this for a long time. Now it forced you to do it. And that's when it lit up, and that confidence level went from finances to health to business, or to mindset to business. And so it just kept growing and growing and growing. And you get to that point where you're like, yeah, I can do it. Oh, how many times am I going to fall down? Yeah, I'm going to fall down a lot. If I'm working on my health, yeah, I may fall on my bike. I may eat too many donuts that week just because it was one of those weeks. It's going to happen. You're going to fall down, and you just stand up, dust yourself off, and do it again. Who cares? Who cares if you fall down? Who cares if you eat that donut? It doesn't mean
that's part
you
of the
fail.
process.
Yeah.
It's part of the process. And I really like that, because I think a lot of people starting their health and fitness journey, or they prevent themselves from starting because they know, or they're scared to fail. They have these like limiting beliefs. And it's like, I still fail, and I'm a coach. I have my own coach as a coach, and this is my profession. So you're going to make mistakes. You're going to fail. It's part of the process, but it's the mindset that you have. It's like from each failure, you learn something.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and guess what? If you're going to start something, get used to failing. That's learn from it. Learn from it. And again, I quit looking at it as failure. I just looked at it as, you know what? That way doesn't work. What was it that Thomas Edison, it took him 1,000 times to get the right filament for the light bulb?
Really? It was that many?
1,000 times. Can you even imagine? After 100 times, I'd be like, I'm done.
Yeah, I probably would have given up, to be honest.
If you look, Michael Jordan, it shows he's got a quote that shows every one of his failures, and you would have thought he was the worst basketball player on earth when you read all those stats, because we know him as the best basketball player. But he said, the reason I succeed is because I failed. So, and it's like 2 weeks ago tomorrow, so I finished my bike race. I was in great shape. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to climb the mountain next to my house after I recruit from the ride, and I'm going to beat my PR. So I wake up, it's a Friday morning, and I go to race up this mountain, totally thinking I was going to beat my PR. I missed it by 9 minutes. And
I'm assuming that's a lot. I'm not sure.
It's a climb that's 22 miles, and it's 5,500 feet of climb in the 22 miles. So it's a good climb. It's a steep climb, and I usually, my PR is 2 hours and 15 minutes, and I finished in 2 hours and 24 minutes. And I got to the top, and I'm like, man, you suck. What's the deal? But then I looked at it, and I went, I just finished, I trained for this race. I prepped for the race. I peaked at the race, and then my body started recouping from there, and I didn't build back up to do that. Yeah. But it was like, you know what? I turned around, the leaves were changing. I took about 24 pictures coming down the mountain because it was such a cool place to be. And I was like, that's worth it. At first I was ticked. I'm like, Cal, you trained all season. You couldn't even that was one of the only climbs I didn't PR this last year. And so, but at first I'm like, oh, this sucks. And then being up there, it was quiet. The weather was awesome. It's one of my favorite climbs because it's one of the prettiest places where I live. So yeah, the pictures, if you see all the aspens, they're fluorescent yellow, and was a cool place. But I had to transition my mindset at the top of, hey, you know what? You made it up here. That was the first time I had done that climb all year. So,
But hey, now you have a goal for next year.
yeah.
So that's part of the process too. I mean, if you can do everything, then that's not super fun. That's not exciting. If you have like a challenge or a nemesis,
Yeah.
like now you said it was Nebo.
Yeah.
Okay, now Mount Nebo is your nemesis for next year, so you have to train and prepare for that.
Well, and it's one of the things, like you said, nemesis. There's two sides of this climb. There's the front side and the back side. Well, the front side's 22 miles, the back side's 11 miles, and you climb the same amount.
Wow.
So this year, my nemesis was the back of the mountain. This year, I climbed it twice and PR'd it both times.
Nice.
And it was fun. I actually like the backside now because it takes less time. Even though it's a steeper climb, it's more fun. And my mindset changed because I was like, I love this backside. It's a grind. Don't get me wrong. Like, I get to the point where I'm zigzagging on the road because it's so steep, but it's just one of those things. And those are the things I do for me as a coach, because I climb those mountains so that I come home. And if we're working with Emma, if we're working with your finances and it's like, oh crap, we're not going to figure this out. That's when I'm like, hey, if we can climb a mountain, if you can power lift more than you ever have, yeah, figuring out the finances is easy. We just have to come up with some more ideas. We have to figure out what that next step is. There's always another option.
Yeah, there's a lot of benefit in doing like very challenging things that you don't have to, like outside of the areas that you're working or focusing on or whatever, because then that makes you more resilient and more, I guess, capable of finding solutions instead of like oftentimes the people I notice in my life who don't have challenges outside of their life, or they don't pursue growth in other areas, they tend to complain more or be more frustrated with other things in life, so to speak, I'd say.
Well, and it's interesting. Like I always look at professional athletes. Like you look at Mike Tyson. The guy was worth almost $100 million in his heyday. Well, he declared bankruptcy because everything started becoming so easy to him. He was winning all the time. He was making boatloads of money. He thought he had everything, and then everything became too easy, and then he had to come back as a 58-year-old and fight some young kid to make more money again. But it's a lot of people. We all go through that. I'm making fun of Mike Tyson right now, but again, I've done it. Things got easy. I got lazy. Even cycling, like at the end of the season, I'll finish my race and I have to be careful because I'm used to eating that many calories. And if I don't monitor that over the holidays, I can gain 15 pounds like that. And it's just like, what happened? I went from lean and mean to fat and heavy all within a couple months. And so, yeah, I make fun of it, but I do that because I know I fall prey to it just like everybody else.
Yeah, we all do. For sure. So to transition to finances, how do you help people get out of their own way and like reduce like stressors and like actually achieve like lifelong goals and stuff? That was a lot of questions. Yeah.
So I can tell you, when I was in pharmaceuticals, I had a financial planner, financial advisor. I was investing. I had a 401k. I felt like I was doing everything I was supposed to for my future, and everything blew up. Every time I got laid off, it blew up. Or when I didn't have any money, I was like, "What money do I use?" Well, a 401k is kind of locked up. You're penalized for taking money out. All these investments, I couldn't do anything with the house I lived in, even though I had a couple $100,000 of equity in that house. And I remember being really, really frustrated. I ended up using my 401k. I paid the 10% penalty. I paid the 20% taxes that year, but my 401k was 120% higher than the amount I invested into it. So I was like, well, who cares if I lose 30% or 20%? And to be honest, I had a good accountant, so I really only lost the 10% fee I had to give up. So I still gained 110% on that investment. So I had to look at things a little bit different, but I used that. I had to use it for years. So when I started helping people with their finances, the first thing I wanted to do was help people get into a position where they had liquidity, where they had access to money. So if you've owned a house for 10 years and you have a couple $100,000 of equity in that house, how do you get access to that if you need it? How do you have access to money if you need it? Because one, most people that go bankrupt, it's because of medical expenses. So if you can't pay medical expenses, but you have assets, it makes it really hard. So I coach people on how to be able to have some of that money available. Now there's lots of things. I coach people on how to utilize their credit cards, how to utilize bank accounts, how to have the money available if you're sick and tired of your job and want to leave. And
Yes.
and there's ways to do that and be able to do it more safe. Because starting your own business, Emma, as well as every business owner out there, it's hard. The first couple years or the first couple months, you're looking at how much you made versus how much you put into it. And you're like, wow, I think I'm making about 25 cents an hour for what I put into this company. And that may be generous sometimes. And that's where, if you can get into a position where you've got access to that money and know how to pay it back very quickly, then it helps you out even more. I've seen people go bankrupt that have $500,000 tied up in equity in their house. And because they couldn't gain access to it, the bank comes in, takes their house, and they don't get any of that $500,000 that they built up over the last years of investing.
That's crazy.
So, because a bank can take your house at any time you quit paying them. Now, there may be bankers on here that say no to that, but yet in the contract, it says the bank forecloses on your house if you miss a certain number of payments. And you may think, hey, they're going to work with me. Well, back in 2008, when we had the housing crisis, the banks were looking for the houses that had the most equity in them, and they would tell people to quit making payments on their house, and that's how they could do a short sell. But the banks could foreclose on that house and get some of the money back that they were losing. So
that's crazy.
It's a dirty game. But again, there's ways that you can have access to it. I'm not saying that banks are bad. They're a business. They're trying to stay afloat. But again, if people know some of the tricks that you can do and some of the ways that you can stay more liquid, then you get into a better position. And then a lot of times you got a lot of people out there that are investing and that they're not ready to invest. They may be paying 30% interest on credit cards, and they owe thousands of dollars in credit cards, and they may be paying $500 to an investment that's returning them 8 to 10%. They're paying 30% on their credit cards. They're at a net loss all the time. You'll never get wealthy by doing that. And so that's where we try to help people get into the position on the personal side where they've got more money. They're protected. They've got a rainy day fund. They've got the things necessary in case there's an emergency. And then on the business side, getting them into a position where they're profitable. So a lot of times a business owner will be running for years and wondering why they're making all this money and none of it's coming into their bank account. Well, it's because they're paying way too much to their employees. Or I have a client I'm meeting with today that is paying too much for the employees. The employees are making a good paycheck, but the owner isn't. And it's like, did you start a business to make sure your employees made money, or was it to make sure you made money? And again,
that must be tough.
It is. And again, the goal is to have the owner making money and the employees making money so that everybody's happy. If one of those is off, you'll lose the employee or you'll lose the owner. And the owner the owner of many companies finally says, I'm done killing myself so that everybody else gets a paycheck and I don't get to take one home. So that's where we try to help companies get into a position where they're paying the bills. Because again, the owner goes down, all the employees go down too. So
that makes a lot of sense.
So it's hard. I've been an employee, I've been an owner, and I've been laid off. I've lost jobs because of money, and it sucks. I hate it, but everybody bounces back on their feet, and sometimes they have to cut, or sometimes they can grow. But again, there's a lot of things you can do with your finances to do that growth. If you want to buy a building, you want to get to that next level, buy another franchise, or start your first franchise. There's a lot of things to do to get into that position. And that's what I coach people to do. So it may take a couple months, it may take a couple years to get into certain positions. And we focus on doing that personalized plan. Like working with Emma is going to be much different than working with somebody else. They're not going to be the same. Some need a lot of hand holding. Some don't want any hand holding. I have one client that I met with like 2 times, and we got some things in order, and we haven't had to meet much at all. And they're doing awesome. They created a new business. They're cruising along. And then when we get to that next level, that's when we meet up again. We check in all the time. I'm not saying, but when I say sit down and really go over things, now our check-ins are, hey, where's this going? Which bank account do I need to get into? And that's where having somebody to bounce ideas off of is a lot better than doing it on your own. And that's,
oh yeah.
Like I hired a coach when I first became a coach, and I only met with this coach a couple times to see how she ran a coaching business. And it was worth every dime I paid her. But if you look at the value of maybe her coaching, I didn't need her type of coaching. She was a woman's coach, and it was a great program for women, having a group, but I was the only guy. And she let me do her program to see how she set it up, and I needed her help to get to that point. And after I went through the first couple of classes, she gave me access to all her programs. I was like, sweet. Paid her. One of the best investments I made. So, and again, with finances, one of the best things you can do is don't blame yourself for the situation you're in right now. You can blame yourself if you keep screwing up after today, but don't blame yourself for the past situations, because again, there's nothing you can do about it, but you can always change what you're going to do moving forward. And that's what we look at. It's everybody thinks their finances are the worst. I can promise you nobody that hears this message is going to be the worst with their finances. I can guarantee it.
It's the same thing with nutrition. It's like one of my mentors always says, you can't like hate yourself into health. Mm-hmm. So like if you're constantly like just doing things out of self-hate and resentfulness or guilt or frustration instead of like care, like trying to get yourself to a healthier place because you deserve it, which I'm sure it's the same with finances, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
So stop looking at the past. I acknowledge the mistakes that you've made, mm-hmm. but how from those mistakes can you learn, and what can
you? Yeah.
Well, and
no, go ahead.
I was just, if you have something to add to this, go for it, because I was going to transition. So.
Well, and one of the things I notice, and I'm sure you notice it in your coaching, is I get people asking me sometimes, they're like, Matt, will it cost money to hire you? And I'm like, yeah, it does. And I said, I know when people are ready to change, because they don't blink. They don't think twice. I know when I started my business, I dropped $25,000 in coaching, and I didn't even have a job. And I was ready. I was like, I don't care what it takes, what I have to do to get into a better position financially, physically, mentally. I mean, it's the investment's better than the alternative, because the alternative costs more every single time. And that's I coach a lot of people into other coaching programs, into fitness programs, nutrition programs. I've had clients that start working out. We free up the money to do that, or they want to get into a different career and they want to go back to school. So I coach them into a nursing program, paying off student debt, or whatever it is. When you're ready, it really doesn't matter how much it costs. I know it sounds stupid, and you see it. You know when people are ready to make that change. If they've been trying to lose weight for years or trying to figure out good food, and not everybody's a good cook. You may need to find a chef. You may need to find a food service that creates your programs. Whatever it is, it's going to be less expensive than the alternative.
So true. So true. And I don't like to do this on sales calls, but like people will see like my price. Honestly, I could charge way more for the quality of service that I provide. My coach costs a lot more than I do.
Yeah.
And I would say I provide a little bit better. Just I know coaches that charge thousands of dollars a month for less than I provide, but I want to be somewhat affordable.
Yeah.
But I'll get price objections and stuff. And one of my sales coaches taught me, well, I don't like to do this because I've also noticed when you pressure somebody into working with you, they tend to be resentful, and then
they're the worst clients.
They're the worst. They're the worst clients. So I don't do this, but if you audit, like there's like categories of things, like if you audit, and every single time I'll mentally, like when I ask my questions to clients, like, do you drink soda? Do you drink coffee? Do you drink alcohol? How often do you go out to eat? Do you have any other hobbies? And that sort of stuff. And when you add up all that stuff that they spend money on, it's always way more than what my coaching service costs. Mm-hmm. And that's a fun exercise to do. Maybe not if you're in the shoes, but it's good to do because then you audit the things that you do spend money and time doing, and you realize they're counterproductive to your goals. Mm-hmm. And like that money that you have, let's say you don't want to invest in a coach, you can use that for other things, investing in other things that make you money without having to do anything.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and it's always cheaper than going to the emergency room with an injury or heaven forbid, a heart attack or something major, because you go for any of those things and you could pay for your coaching for the next 10 years.
Oh yeah. My 3-minute quote unquote joyride down the mountain with a dislocated shoulder cost like $3,000. Oh. $3,000. And it was the most painful experience of my life. So I'm like, and that was my fault. So it wasn't like I did something dumb and dislocated my shoulder snowboarding. But point being, that really very short ambulance, it was a toboggan with like people on ski patrol toboggan. That was $3,000.
And it's crazy, those things. I noticed, so I go to the doctor every single year now. I get a physical. I like to see exactly where my health was. When I wasn't as healthy, I tried to avoid the doctor. I tried to avoid knowing where my blood work was or where my everything was. And now I notice, like, my best doctor is that bike sitting behind me. It really, every one of the categories went down on my blood work over the last couple of years. My cholesterol,
That's awesome.
I don't take much medicine anymore. I don't take ibuprofen anymore. Not much. I did on my last bike ride toward the end, but
that makes sense. That's a long one, so.
But it's, and I don't get sick like I used to. My body, like I'll feel a cold coming on and the next day I feel great. My body fights it off quicker. It's just, being more healthy has made me feel so much better. So that's with what you're doing, and you get to know, I know there's a lot of people that react differently. That's where your coaching's awesome, where you can say, okay, if you've got digestive issues, this is where to go. This is what you do. How many people do that? I mean, you can look up, you go to Chat GPT and create a create a diet, and it's not going to take that all into consideration. So I know with me, knowing where my blood work is and knowing what I'm focusing on makes it easier to understand how to keep moving forward.
Oh yeah, definitely. And yeah, that's another thing people don't think about is when you do invest in your health, whether that be, and again, it doesn't have to be a coach. Maybe it's getting a gym membership or buying better quality foods at the store instead of like the packaged processed stuff. But you will be healthier and better. You'll have less sick days. You'll be able to focus more at work, be more productive, make more money, have more enjoyable life experiences. Yeah. And those are priceless. Like really, like I mean, I'm sure you feel this way, right? With your bike, like you want to be as healthy as possible so you can keep having those experiences on your bike. You can keep doing that 207-mile race, you know, and if you're not, you know, eating quality food sources, if you're not taking that time to exercise, like you're not going to be able to keep that, and you're not going to be able to keep showing up for your family.
Yeah. Well, and part of that is, I have to admit, I like foods that may not be as healthy for you sometimes. I do pancake or waffle Sunday every week with my family. That's
great. That's awesome.
But when I'm trying to cut weight, I know that I can have half a cup of pancake mix, and that's 300 calories. So I just put that in, and I make sure I make up for it, and then follow up with the healthier stuff at later time. I have my cheat days because I love things that don't fit into the perfect diet.
Well, so this is how I coach people. Nothing is off limits because like we're all about sustainability, right? So if for you, like a coach was like, you can never have pancakes or waffles again, you'd be like always thinking about the pancakes or the waffles, and you'd probably overindulge whenever you had them because you thought you could never have them. So, and honestly, like 80-20, 90-10 rule is kind of what I shoot for with most of my clients. So like 80-20, 80% whole foods, quality food sources, 20% fun foods. I had a beer last weekend. It's not the end of the world.
No.
No,
well, and
it's just one.
Super Bowl Sunday. There's going to be some nachos. There's going to be finger foods. And again, it's part of the reason I ride my bike is I can do a ride that burns 4,000 or 5,000 calories and
gives you more flexibility to enjoy some of those foods.
But again, it's with anything, with your weight training, you've talked about it. You figure out what's best for your body. It's the same with finances. If I tell you, do not spend any money, like you said earlier, you feel guilty for spending money. I'm the king of that. Like if we're not doing well, my birthday's coming up, and if we're not doing well, I'm like, I don't need anything for my birthday. But that's just as unhealthy as spending too much money. And that's part of, like you see, when people are like, I can't eat anything, that can be just as detrimental as eating too much. Because it stops your body. It affects you. It's constantly telling you you're not good enough to eat enough, and your body's craving it. Your body's craving spending more money. I don't coach people to make people save every dime. That's just as bad as spending too much.
Yep.
I've seen just as many marriages destroyed because they don't spend any money as those that are destroyed by spending too much money. So
yeah, and that was what was cool, and this is what I actually wanted to transition into. Is I was going to give you a bit of a testimonial sort of thing because when we first started working with you like asked us like, what is our background like financially, like what did we grow up with and that sort of stuff to kind of understand like our mindset around money, because that's important. And like same thing with nutrition, and that helps you tailor the experience to us. And then really like working with you basically just showed me, we bought a house, so now we need your expert strategies, but just having you there, like being like, you guys are fine. Like you can totally leave your stable job. Like you don't need to worry because we don't spend that much money on things. We don't have children. So that makes a big impact, I'm sure. But we have the bandwidth. And so that gave me the confidence to leave And so I think there's huge value in that. And especially like you've given me the confidence to invest more in my business and to do more fun activities and not feel guilty about doing those things. Because like before, like spending money on, just a random Thursday going to hit golf balls, like why spend $20 on a bucket of balls, that doesn't really return anything immediate for you, but it made my day better and it gave me a nice experience with my husband. So it was worth the $20 of golf balls.
Well, and it was, growing up, we didn't go to the movies very often because it's like, wait till it comes to DVD and we can take it home and watch it. And I can tell you some of really good experiences with my kids are sitting at a movie theater. And yeah, we dropped $100 to get us all in, got popcorn, but again, you see everybody, especially when you got the lounge chairs that you can kick back and you got everybody laying back. And we went the other night, it was a Friday night, and we went to Provo and went to a nicer hamburger place that we love. It's called Chom, and it's in Provo, and it's more of a college spot for BYU students, but it's got the best hamburgers. So we went.
I'll have to check that out.
It's so good. You'd like it. It's more healthy. My wife will eat there because they have the gluten-free bun, and so that's why we go there instead of some of the other places. But it's more expensive. Like just for four of us, probably $60 for hamburgers and some fries, and we didn't even deck it out. But again, sitting there was one of those moments where you're like, "This is why we do what we do."
Yep.
I met a guy that was married to one of the Marriott kids, so they were going to inherit a lot of money.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And one of the things he said that really hit me hard was, with his kids, he goes, I don't pay my kid. I don't give my kids money. I pay for memories. And
I like that.
That's why I created my company, was for memories. Again, it's making more money a lot of times gets you more memories. Being in better health gets you more memories.
Yes.
My dad died of a pulmonary embolism 11 years ago. And so that's why I'm more proactive with my health. He was in decent shape too. So now that's why I get my blood test done. I like to know those factors. That's why I'll eat one donut instead of 5, or just, that's why we do things for those reasons. So
yeah, both huge impact on your quality of life. So anyway, if you guys are listening and you're like, I need some help with my finances, this is a stress point for me, I don't know how to manage them, or I have all this debt that I really need some help with, reach out to Matt. I'm going to put his email in the show notes and his website where you can book a call, and his YouTube. He has a lot of helpful YouTube videos. If you're like, who is this dude? I don't know yet, but I am interested. Check that out. I'll post that below. But yeah, he's great. He's great, and he does not push anything on his clients. It's really like, meet you where you're at. Like, what are your goals? What do you want? This is how we are going to get there. It's kind of similar to what I do, but with finances. So he's awesome. So anyway, definitely recommend checking his stuff out. And Matt, I like to give my guests the floor, like the last thought of the episode. So what would you like to leave our audience with?
Well, there's a lot of people. We're coming up to the holidays. Probably one of the most stressful times of the year for any parent, for any spouse, or especially if things are tight, or if you want to start a business, or I was there. I do what I do because life pushed me there. It wasn't because I had graduated college in finance, or I did it because of all the experiences we had. I created it because I wanted to see people not go through the same things we had to go through. Again, we got 4 kids. We are very expensive. We go to Costco. I spend enough at Costco that it looks like a mortgage payment every single month. And then that's just my kids. And then we buy all the food for their friends to come over. So it can get very pricey. But if you've ever asked that question or ever said, I can't afford it, or no, we can't do something, that's what I did. I was the guy every time we went on vacation where actually the first fight with my wife, I'll tell you that to end. We were on our honeymoon in Maui. And again, I'm the cheap one. And my wife wanted a flower lei before we left. Well, I had dropped all my money on paying for this vacation. And I was like, well, why would we buy flowers? They're just going to die. And this is me as a young kid. And that was our first fight. That really was our first fight being married. And after that, I just know everywhere we go, there's going to be souvenirs. I just budget for it. I know that we're going to spend a couple $100s on every trip for sweatshirts, and we're going to buy some ridiculously expensive hoodie just because that's what we do now. But it makes it a lot easier for me when I know that we've got a budget for it. We've prepped for it. That's what I needed to spend the money, was just to know. And again, I think this lei was $10. So everyone out there laughing at how ridiculous fights can be, that was me. I'll take claim. That was totally my fault. Let's just say every time we go to Hawaii, she gets a flower lei. Every single time. She gets a couple of them. So
makes sense.
Yep. So I did go back and buy it.
Good.
But it took a minute to recoup from that one. So
yeah, the experiences are worth it.
It is, and it is
worth it. Mm-hmm.
Memories are totally worth it. And again, I do this not because I'm the best at saving money or I'm the best investor. I have invested, I've lost. I've invested, I've made money. I've saved money. I've saved money to a point where it causes fights. We've spent too much money before on stupid things. We did dumb loans. With our first house, we got into one of those balloon interest rates that just kept going up, thinking that's what we're supposed to do. And we've been there. We've done that. I love coaching people on how to maneuver, how to utilize interest rates in your favor, how to use banking in your favor, because the banks are doing it to you. You might as well benefit from it and do it back. So there's ways to do it and make things work. There's ways to juggle. And one last, just a piece of advice, if anything, if you can just keep your credit score higher. I know that's easier said than done, but if you can, it's a lot harder for me to help people when they've already destroyed everything. If you've destroyed your credit score, if you're about to foreclose on a house, it's really hard to get you out of that situation. But if you know that things are going to get tight, that's when we want to start working with it. That's where we want to look at it. And I've had a few clients that'll call me about 3 months too late. And we can fix it. It's just easier if you call sooner rather than later. So
same thing with your health.
Yes. A lot easier to fix your heart before a heart attack than after.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. So I feel that. But yes, I will post your contact info in the show notes so everybody can reach out. But yeah, thank you so much for being on here, telling your story and giving some tips, because I think finances are they're a really sensitive topic for a lot of people, kind of like health too, like talking about body composition and how you look and that sort of thing. So I appreciate you having you on here to make this. Hopefully, it'll start setting a trend of making finances less of a touchy subject for people.
Well, and it's for me, I was that way. I didn't want anybody to see my mess up of finances. Now I don't care. I'll tell people about them. Like you, it's you know what? We've all tried. We've all tried with our health. We've all tried with finances. Having a coach there to guide you through it was the thing that changed me, helped me. So
it's invaluable for sure.
So, well, thanks for having me on.
You're welcome.
You guys are listening. Emma's great. Totally worth her value 10 times over. So
I really appreciate that, Matt. Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, anyway, catch you guys on the next one. See ya.